Hey, Charger History. Today's essential question is, what was it like to live in the Zhou Dynasty? Please copy the essential question at the top of your notebook page. Draw your vertical line for your notes. You're going to need your notebook and the passage in your practice packet, so please turn to the Tuesday page. Yesterday we started our new unit, which was Unit 5 for China. Remember that there's China. China is the fourth and final river valley civilization that we'll be learning about this year. Can you identify each of these Chinese rivers? Do you remember why China was so isolated from other civilizations? If you said Yellow River right there, then you're correct. And there is the Yangtze River, which is dividing northern China from southern China. So Chinese emperors, which is another word for kings, passed on powers to their son. Power stayed in the same family for generations to generations, sometimes hundreds of years. When power stays in one family, this is called a dynasty. Please pause and copy this vocab word dynasty and its definition. Go. So around 1000 BC, the Zhou dynasty began, and it ruled for about 800 years. So this time period is called the Zhou dynasty, and it was a time of peace and prosperity in China. The government of the Zhou dynasty. Please follow along with me as I read what's on your passage. Make sure that you annotate with circling keywords, underlining key points, and writing central idea statements for each paragraph. The early leaders of the Zhou dynasty introduced the idea of the mandate of heaven. This concept taught that the emperors gained their authority to rule from the gods. Please pause and copy this vocab word in your notes. The mandate of heaven is the idea that Chinese emperors got their authority from the gods. All right, and if you're done, go back to your passage to read. The Zhou rulers explained that the gods had said that they would only let the Zhou rule as long as they were good rulers. If they became selfish, like how the old kings were, and they thought of themselves first, then the gods would appoint a new ruler again. The government of the Zhou was based on the feudal system. The emperor divided the land into fiefs, or small pieces of land, that were usually ruled by his relatives. The nobles who ruled the fiefs basically owned the farmers who worked the lands. Please pause and copy this vocab word. Feudalism. Feudalism is the system in which land is owned by the kings and nobles, but worked on by the farmers. This system began during the Zhou dynasty, but it lasted for hundreds of years. All right, pause if you need more time. And let's move on to religion. The later period, back to your passage, the later period of the Zhou dynasty is famous for the beginnings of two major Chinese philosophies. A philosophy is a belief system or somebody's way of thinking. The two famous philosophies of the Zhou dynasty were called Confucianism and Taoism. Please put your eyes back on your passage to read about the two philosophies. Please circle keywords and underline key points. Let's start with Taoism. Taoism was founded during the Zhou dynasty in the 6th century by Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu wrote down his beliefs and his philosophy in a book called the Tao Te Ching. Taoism believes that people should be one with nature and that all living things have a universal force flowing through them. Taoists don't believe in a lot of rules or government. In this way, they were very different from the followers of Confucius, which we'll learn about in a second. The idea of the yin and yang comes from Taoism. They believe that everything in nature has two balancing forces called yin and yang. These forces can be thought of as dark and light, cold and hot, male and female, anything that has an opposite. These opposing forces are always equal and balanced. Now let's write a central idea statement for this section. Please describe on your paper the most important thing to remember about Taoism in a few words. Pause. Good. You should be done with your central idea statement. And then just make sure that you circled keywords like Taoism, like Lao Tzu, Tao Te Ching, all the important words that are associated with this religion. Let's go on to, oh wait, here's a picture that shows balance, the way that Taoism believes. Notice how if I were to draw a line down the middle, everything on the right side would look the same as the left. I could fold it over. It's like a mirror. That's something that is really important in Taoism, is balance. All right, let's go on to Confucianism. Not long after Lao Tzu founded Taoism, and we're back to your passage now, so make sure you annotate. Confucius was born in 551 BC. Confucius was a philosopher and thinker. Confucius came up with ways that people should behave and live. He didn't write these down, but his followers did write them down for him. Confucius' teaching focused on treating others with respect, politeness, and fairness. He thought that honor and morality were important qualities. He also said that family was important and honoring one's relatives was required. Unlike Taoists, followers of Confucius believed in a strong, organized government. Confucius is famous today for his many sayings. Here are a few of them. Forget injuries, but never forget kindnesses. It does not matter how slowly you go, so long as you do not stop. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in getting up every time we do. When anger rises, think of the consequences. Everything has its beauty, but not everyone sees it. Pause your video and choose your favorite quote from Confucius. Circle that quote on your paper. And if you want to, you can write it down in your notebook or on another piece of paper. Now let's write a central idea statement for this section. Describe the most important thing to remember about Confucianism in a few words. Pause and write your central idea. Okay, the last thing, let's move into practice. On your notes, please copy the following. I want you to draw 2 boxes on your notebook page. On this side, your word is philosophies. Your boxes are for Taoism and Confucianism. Pause and copy if you need more time. Okay, let's start with the Taoism box. We're going to give this box a tattoo. If you were going to draw a tattoo that represents Taoism, what would it be? Pause and take 1 minute or less to draw your tattoo. Ready, set, pause, and draw your tattoo. Go. All right, now if you're hearing this, that means you should be done drawing your Taoism tattoo. What did you draw? If it was a scene from nature or if it was a yin yang, that's perfect. It shows balance and it shows a love for nature. Now let's do a tattoo for the Confucianism box. This time I want you to pick a quote that best summarizes Confucianism. Sometimes people get quotes tattooed on them. So if you were going to get a quote and tattoo it all across your arm, you ever seen that? So if you're going to get a quote on your arm for Confucianism, what would it be? Pick the best quote and copy it into the box. Ready, set, go. All right, now you should be done with your Confucianism tattoo. I can't wait to see what tattoo you drew. Please X out of this video and return to your playlist. Push 4.0 until it's time for us to share our tattoos.